Hi, hello, good evening everyone. Welcome back to this Unacademy UPSC Articulate YouTube channel. This is Nisha Nujumudeen, your educator at Unacademy, an expert in Indian economy, current affairs and MCQs. So today if you see in this particular fundamentals of economy in just 30 minutes, we have a very exciting topic of the day which is none other than inflation. So what we'll do with regard to this particular topic is as always, this will be a quick concept bites followed by a proper linkage of them with the trending current affairs, and then whatever previous year questions based on this topic has been asked for the UPSC, that will be discussed. If not, the mock questions which you can expect from the same area. So now in today's class, if you see inflation, that is the most important topic of discussions for UPSC Prelims examination, because apart from the conceptual perspective also, a load of current affairs pertaining to this particular topic called as inflation will come up. Basically in the context of monetary policy, in the context of banking and sab kuch like that. And every day 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. you will be having the so-called fundamental series. So don't forget to stay tuned for this particular class. Okay. And now if you see, apart from all this, in the Unacademy platform also, both free and plus class I do take. I'm one of the top Unacademy plus faculty for economics and current affairs and MCQs. This is my schedule. Every day 6 to 7 I do a class called as Top 1000 MCQ series to ace your UPSC Prelims 2021. And in the Plus platform, 2 p.m. I have an NCERT course, batch course going now. And on June 15th, a Prelims Sampurna 1200 MCQs course will be coming up. So to be a part of that, very simple, you have to use a code called as Nisha IAS Live. Be it plus class or free class. To study live classes, to come for the live classes and to become, civil service officers, the IAS officers, use my code Nisha IAS Live. Simple as that. Take care. So the details of all this is put up in the description box of this particular video. You can just go through that. And also the link of my Unacademy profile, it is also mentioned, guys. You can just click that to follow. And for the notes and other perspectives, feel free to get in touch with me via Telegram. Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC. So Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC's official Telegram ID. You can follow me there for all the updates of my free plus class and for the notes and PDFs and all. Clear? So now let's quickly have a look into what is inflation. So as far as this particular class is concerned, we'll start with the basics instead of jumping into the so-called technical terms and all, right? So here we go. As far as this particular topic is concerned, we'll discuss as to the meaning of inflation in a very simple manner, followed by what are the different types of inflation. It is even more interesting to have a good knowledge of the basics, right? And then the third topic of discussion is what are the causes of inflation. What are the reasons behind which we have such kind of inflation in our economy. So inflation, when you keep hearing the term, something is inflating up, something is increasing, right? So let's have a quick look into what is inflating or what is inflation. In simple terms, inflation is nothing but a continuous or a persistent rise in general price level. So when the prices increase on a continuous or a persistent way, that is called as inflation in the most simplified manner I can tell you. And now, do you think inflation is good for a country like India? Yes, indeed, very much important. Don't you think so? That is, when you do not have a basic, price rise, then things will not be competitive, right? As and when the economy is progressing and growing, taking into consideration various the parameters you should have. So as far as a developing economy India is concerned, inflation is what? A natural characteristic or a feature. But that doesn't mean that you have to have a too much of price rise for the commodity. It should be within the range where people can purchase. At the same time, to keep the demand also in limit. That is also there. Take care. If you see over the years, prices have been increasing based on the population growth, based on the demand, the resource availability and sab kuch like that. The price of, let's say, 1 cup of coffee in the year 1980 was only $1.45 for $0.45, but in the year 1990 it became 0.75. In 2010 and all, it kept on increasing to $1, then to $1.25 and all. That is, let's say, for example, if you can get in the 1980s 1 cup of coffee for, let's say, 1 rupee, 1990 it became 3. Or 2000 it became 5 and 10 and 20. Depending on if you want to get a cup of coffee, you have to pay at least 20 rupees. Or let's say minimum 15 rupees. That has become the scenario, right? So over the years, it keeps on changing. So this is what is called as inflation in simple terms. So now when the general level of price increases, what happens? Each unit of currency, they will start buying fewer goods. That is, you will not be able to buy more goods with the money you have. That's called as inflation. And now, is inflation a micro or a macro concept? If you see, inflation is a macro concept because it deals with the entire functioning of the whole economy. Okay, because we are seeing the effect of inflation, or let's say price rise in simple terms, over a large basket of goods and service. And the ultimate effect of inflation is what? The value of money is reduced, which means that you and me, no matter how much of money we have also, because of inflation or price rise, we will not be able to buy too much of goods. That is, too much of money will start chasing too few goods. The purchasing power or the capacity of people to buy more of commodity is being decreased when there is an inflation or a price rise. When the price of onions, when the price of tomatoes, when the price of rice, petrol, when sab kuch increases, you will not consume more. Previously, let's say for example, when the price of tomato was, let's say for 1 kg, if it is 10 rupee, you will buy even 3 kg at a stretch. But now if the price of tomato for 1 kg is equal to, let's say 30 or 40, or let's say even 60, now you will think of going for 2 to 3 kgs. Rather, you may even reduce to half a kg your demand. So that is how it works. Clear? Now the next question is, who measures inflation for our country, India? Again, the central government authority. And who is in charge of adopting what? The so-called measures, so that we can have a very smooth stability of functioning of our economy. And as far as the country India is concerned, the proper authority is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, guys. They are the one who measures inflation. And there are two main indices or measures of inflation called as WPI and CPI, Wholesale Price Index and Consumer Price Index. Now, the Wholesale Price and Consumer Price Index exclusively in part 4 of this particular fundamental series, guys. I have done a video. You can feel free to watch that as well. Clear? In the playlist of the series, it is given there. And now, what is Wholesale Price Index, guys? When you're measuring the price of goods, I mean the basket of goods alone in the wholesale perspective. The factor called service is not coming there. What about CPI? When you measure the price of the basket of goods and services from the retail perspective, from the point of view of the consumer, that is called as Consumer Price Index. So I think Consumer Price Index is actually something which is making the consumer feel the pinch of paying the prices. Don't you think so? Yes. We go and buy a product in the market at the final price. Let's say for example, the wholesale price of one particular product will be, let's say for example, we are going to buy a packet of biscuit. Wholesale, if you say, you can get one packet of Britannia biscuits for even 2 rupees. But when it comes to market, yes, it's been sold for 5 rupees. Or let's say 5 rupees is wholesale price and 10 rupees is market price. Because when it comes to market, the profit of the producer, the taxes, indirect taxes, which is called as GST today, goods and service tax, everything is inclusive. So we pay 10, not 5. You understand? So now it has a direct effect to the living standard of people. That is why if you see over the years, when years passed by since 2016, the Central Bank of our country, RBI, when a committee was put forward by them called as Urjit Patel Committee, they said we have to target inflation. At the same time, in the context of targeting inflation, they also wanted to change the method of calculating or measuring inflation from wholesale price index to consumer price index. That was a change that was made in that particular time period. So today we have something called a CPI on the rise compared to the WPI. Clear? That's it. Now, the next important topic is the different types of inflation. It's indeed very interesting. You should know what are the types of inflation. That is based on percentages, based on the level they are, we can categorize them. Take care whether they are high, low, medium, like that. So here we go. A quick look into the type of inflation. There are so many types of inflation. If you see the right hand side of the slide, on the basis of rate, you have something called as creeping, walking, running, galloping or hyperinflation. On the basis of causes, demand pull, cost push, then profit-induced inflation, budgetary inflation, monetary inflation, multi-cash inflation. On the basis of degree of control, you have something called as open inflation and suppressed inflation. For our country, India, if you see, we follow something called as suppressed inflation, I can say. And next, on the basis of employment, we have partial inflation, full inflation. And then you even have something called as anticipated, that is predicted versus unanticipated, that is unpredicted inflation. These are the various categories. But as far as you people are concerned, the civil service students are concerned, you got to understand the inflation based on the rate and also based on causes. That is more important. Take care. So if you see based on the, let's say the rate of inflation, we have the creeping inflation called as mild inflation. You can see in the picture. Then you have walking inflation, you have galloping, and you have hyperinflation. So let's quickly have a look into what all this is all about. Let's start step by step. So point number 1 talks about creeping inflation. What is creeping inflation? That is by the speed it has been categorized. Okay? If you see, by the speed, if you see, we have creeping, walking, trotting and all. Now, as far as, the first type of inflation is concerned, let's say for example, when the prices are increasing gently, it is referred to as creeping inflation. And it is called as the mildest form of inflation. And because it is in a very mild form only, they are also called as what? Mild inflation. Or let's say it's a low inflation. That's what I can tell you. And we can't give one particular figure as such to identify, creeping or mild. But for the sake of calculation, a lot of economists, they said that when the prices are rising by not more than or up to 3%, not more than or up to 3% per annum. Between that 0 to 3% it should be, then you can call it as creeping inflation. Slowly the prices are rising. You understand? That's called as creeping inflation in simple terms. And this is very important. If rate of price rise is kept at this so-called level, it is said that it is quite considered to be very much useful for the economic development of our country. Whereas some other economists, they say, no, it is not the case. If the annual price rise goes slightly beyond 3% per annum, then it is considered to be of no danger. So there are different viewpoints as such. Take care. Next is, we have something called as walking inflation. Before walking, let me tell you another point. There is something called as chronic inflation. Take care. What is chronic? Chronic means not chronic bachelor. It is long term. The keyword chronic means long term. If the creeping inflation, that is, we saw what is creeping and mild inflation. If this inflation is continuing for a long period of time, take care, then many a times this creeping inflation is called as chronic inflation. And they are called as chronic because if an inflation rate continues to grow for a long period of time without a downturn, so it is continuously growing and there is no coming back or dropping of the rates down, just like that they are going shooting up or spiking up, then that's called as chronic inflation. That is very, very dangerous because it lead to a furthermore rate of inflation called as hyperinflation, where you can see 2-digit and 3-digit of inflations coming up. Take care. That is not advisable. Now, next is if you see walking inflation. After creeping like a baby, now a baby will start to walk, right? So now walking means creeping you may do it slowly, walking you will do it a little faster. If creeping is in the range of up to 3%, then if the annual price rise is more than 3%, okay, is more than 3% up to 10%. More than 3% and up to 10% per annum. Okay, then it is called as what? Walking inflation. And now, again, as per some economists, I can tell you that walking inflation must be taken care very seriously, because you would have seen a single-digit inflation in the creeping and in the walking perspective, because it is between 3 to 10, which means till 9.5 it can go, but not after that to 10, because double digit is coming up there. It's a kind of caution or a warning signal for the occurrence of what? The next level of inflation called as running inflation, where 2 digits will come, which will cause the entire economy to be in a big trouble. You understand? So thus, your walking and your creeping inflation, take care, these are considered to be what? Moderate inflation. When creeping or mild inflation is allowed to fan out, slowly walking will come. But that is also single digit inflation. But if you do not give attention to this, then we go to running inflation, which is very, very dangerous. Clear? These 1-digit inflations, that is creeping and walking, is considered to be moderate. And if you are not able to keep up that level, then things will turn out of our hands for the economic growth and development. Clear? The next is running inflation. Now, it is called as double-digit inflation, which is very, very dangerous for the economy as a whole. If the rate of inflation, or let's say when there is a rapid acceleration in the rise of prices, it is called as running inflation. Let's say, for example, the rate is between 10 to 20. That is 10 to 20. Now 2 digit is coming, right? So that is called as running inflation. And I am giving you these figures 10, 20 and all for you to understand in a better way. Take care. So now 2 digit is coming, and that is why it is kind of dangerous. Now after that, if you see, if this is not being stopped, again the inflation can go to a next level called as galloping. After creeping, after walking, after running, you will start jumping, right? It's called as galloping inflation. That is why I showed the picture of this horse as well here. And if you see, in this particular inflation, take care, that is galloping inflation, if a price rise is, let's say, by double, or let's say triple, that is when they had a 3-digit number, then in that case it is said to be galloping inflation or jumping inflation. That is when the price rises by double or triple digits. Let's say when it is in the range of 30% to 400, or even and less than 999. It shouldn't be 1000, because 1000 is, let's say, four numbers. So when it is in the so-called 3-digit category, then it is called as galloping inflation. It is very, very dangerous, because this galloping or jumping, now you can't even think of any economy having it. See, though I am teaching you different types of inflation also, do not think that these kind of inflations are there. Okay, it's very dangerous actually. Then you have something called as hyperinflation. What is hyperinflation? Like a person becoming hyperactive and all you say, right? Similarly, hyperinflation is an upgraded version of galloping inflation. You can just write it. That is, when the inflation, situation is such that when the inflation of price rises at alarming rate, the prices are increasing so fast that it becomes very, very difficult to even measure the magnitude and direction, I can tell you. So thus in quantitative terms, I can tell you that when the price is increasing more than 1000%, which is 4-digit, it's called as quadruple inflation. And that's very dangerous and no economy can ever have that. So these are the different type of inflation. Out of that, your creeping and walking is kind of moderate. So we have done creeping, that is mild, then walking, then running, then jumping, that is galloping, and finally hyperinflation. This is what you should know as far as the different types of inflation based on rates are concerned. Now let's have a quick look into what are the internal and external causes of inflation. Internal means within, external means outside. Large surge in property price, the real estate market. When there is an increase in that, automatically inflation happens. When there is a high wage or labor cost, when there is a boom or increase in the money supply credit, when there is a rise in business taxes, that is your GST or VAT, value taxes, all these things now is internal. What about external? With regard to other countries of the world, the oil or gas prices, when that is increasing worldwide, automatically one country means we depend on other countries for importing and all now, we get affected. When the global commodity price increases, again we are having an effect because import is happening, and also depreciation or decrease in the exchange rate. This is just for you to know just what are the internal and external causes in a separate way, so you will be able to understand in a better way how it has been affecting our country because of all these factors. Now the next important topic is what causes inflation. If you see, demand pull, cost push, built-in inflation. These are the three different factors of inflation. If you see, demand pull means when the demand is too much and the supply is less. Cost push means the opposite. Supply is too much, demand is less. Okay. And built-in is what? When the workers are expecting the salaries and wages to increase. When the price of goods and services is also increasing. So now, along with the rise in price, when the wages are increasing, people are able to manage or help them maintaining the so-called living cost. Clear? So quick look into demand pull inflation. I can tell you that if you see demand pull inflation, I can tell you that it is caused due to an increase in the total or aggregate demand in the economy. That is when there is too much of demand. But then what happened? The supply is less. Automatically price will increase. So this demand pull inflation will result in what? Higher prices. Because you and me as consumers, we want to buy more and more good. Don't you think so? Than what the producer is supplying. You got the point. That is called as demand pull inflation. What would cost push? The opposite. That is, cost push means when the producers are increasing prices because their cost to create products are rising. The raw materials they have to purchase, the price is increasing. The labor charges or wages they pay is increasing. The electricity power what they paying is increasing. So automatically what will they do? They'll pass the burden to the consumers. We the people when we buy the products. That's called as cost push inflation. And this cost push is basically affected by productivity. For example, if the workers want more money, this will increase the cost to make new cars. They say, no, we can't do 500 rupees a day. We want 1000. What will the producer do? Chalo, okay. But instead of 1 lakh for the car, they'll make it 1,50,000 because they're paying extra money to the laborers now who are working on it. Simple as that. The burden is automatically passed on to whom, guys? We the consumers. Now, since we studied about demand pull inflation, it is very important for us to know what are the factors causing that. Here we go. One is rapid growth in population. Too much of population growth, automatically it leads to what? Demand pull factor. When the black money supply increases, role of black money, unaccounted money, it increases. Then, deficit financing, which is borrowing of the government. And also mounting government expenditure, too much of government expenditure. So thus, a growing economy or increase in money supply. When the consumers feel confident, what will they do? They'll start spending more and take more debt as well. Automatically, there will be steady increase in demand, which means higher prices. Now, the low unemployment rate and depreciation rupees are also various factors causing what? Demand pull inflation. What are the effects, guys, because of this? Supply is becoming less, shortage in supply. Automatically, price will increase. That is, first to supply 100 products to 1000 people, it is not possible, right? 1000 people require 1000 products, but 100 products is too less. So price will rise, price will increase. First come, first base service, it will be like that. Then increase in the price of goods and the living cost, overall living cost increases. What about cost push, guys? I told you cost push is, inflation is increased by productivity, right? Because of that. Now, what are the factors leading to that? Now, when the increase in price of inputs like labor, raw material increase, we have cost push inflation. So now basically, when the demand remains constant, the price of commodity will increase, automatically causing what? A rise in entire or overall price level. Clear? Now, what are the reasons how what can you say? Why such kind of inflation is happening? Lot of reasons. One is when the price of raw materials, labor, sab kuch is increasing in the production process. When people start hoarding the commodities, or when there is too much of taxation, when there is so much of fluctuations in the oil price internationally, when there is food inflation, which means the price of essential commodities increases. So people are finding it difficult now. And when there is depreciation or decrease in the value of currency, when there is an increase in indirect taxes, and when there is a defective or a bad supply chain, and also the interest rate, when they are increased by RBI, oh my goodness, there you have the cost push inflation. So this is very, very important for you to know. As far as your topic is concerned, you should know what is demand pull, what is cost push. That should be fine. Take care. So we are done with the very, very basics of inflation, guys. I hope it is crystal clear for you people. Yes, you can quickly put out your views in the live chat of this particular video. Yes, perfect, guys. So shall we go into the current affairs perspective? Here we go. The related current affairs based on inflation. If you see, on February 26, 2021, the Central Bank of the country, India, they published something called as RCF. What is RCF? Report on Currency and Finance, okay, for the year 2021. Now, this report on currency finance is nothing but they had a theme called as reviewing the monetary policy framework. And when they were reviewing the monetary policy framework, they even assumed a lot of importance, okay, in the context of targeting inflation by the year 2021 March. We cannot allow inflation to increase to greater level. In the so-called COVID-19 pandemic, what happened in the month of August, September, oh my goodness, the inflation was 7.3%, 6.8%, too much. We have something called as inflation targeting. I have taught you in the previous class, remember? That is, we have to target inflation at the rate of 4% with a plus or minus band of 2%. That is 2, 4, 6. Up to 6 you can have increase inflation, not beyond that. If you go beyond that, come on, it is after the target the government, the RBI has put across. But if you see in the pandemic situation last year, oh my goodness, things were out of the way. That is why such kind of report on currency and finance was brought in. Clear? To ensure that we are having a check on the proper inflation targeting levels for our country, so as to bring back the growth perspective as such. So this particular report called as RCF. What is RCF? Report on Currency and Finance. Okay. They also studied the flexible inflation targeting, FIT framework for our country, India. So flexible inflation targeting is to what extent you can actually increase inflation. It is only 6, not beyond that. Because that shouldn't, if that is the case, then if it goes after that limit, then entire economy will kind of come down. That is what we witnessed also in the last year because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and the government came with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the 20 lakh crore economic stimulus package, did something or the other to ensure that we are back on track, right? And as per RBI, I can tell you what is the target of inflation? 4% with the plus or minus band of 2%. And for the next 5 years, from 2021 to 25, this should be the target. It shouldn't be more than that. Very clear? Now I told you what is inflation targeting. The same thing only, you can just go through. That is what even the report on currency and finance also, they made it very clear. That is already since 2016, we targeted inflation with the band of 4% with plus or minus band of 2%. But then, that is 2, 4, 6. Up to 6% you can increase, up to 2% you can decrease. Not beyond 2 and not above 6. 4 is ideal thing. But then if you see, last week, as per June 5th, 2021, RBI's bi-monthly report, okay, bi-monthly monetary policy report, which I took in yesterday's class in part 9 of this particular series. I told you very clearly that what is the inflation target, guys? They said inflation is supposed to be 5.1%, which means it is within the limit only. 4% is okay, up to 6 they can go, I told you, right? And very clearly in the report they said that for the next 5 years, this target so-called 4% with plus or minus band of 2% should be there. This is very, very important to be noted with regard to what the inflation current affairs perspective. Clear? You can just go through and put some grades for you to understand the observations made in this particular report on finance perspective. Wherein if you see before flexible inflation targeting, the trend in inflation was like we could see a fall from 9% to a range of 3.8 to 4.3% during the flexible inflation targeting system. What is the meaning of that? Indicating that 4% is the appropriate level of inflation target. Clear? And now I can tell you that an inflation rate of 6% is very much appropriate, okay, is the appropriate upper tolerance limit for the target, not beyond that. It should be that. And similarly, the lower perspective is 2%, not should not drop beyond that also. That is 2, 4, 6. Just keep that one single line in your brains for you to understand. Once again, I'll repeat. 2, 4, 6. 4 is idle rate, up to 6% maximum you can increase the inflation, not beyond that. And up to 2 you can decrease, not beyond that. You should not decrease. It is not good for the economy. This is called as flexible inflation targeting. So now, here we are guys, we're done with the so-called concept inflation. So now, here is the time for us to have a quick look into the questions as well. So now, consider the following statements regarding inflation indexed bonds. First one, the main objective is to provide a hedge and to safeguard the investor against what? Macroeconomic risk in the economy. Second, they provide inflation protection only to principal and not to interest payment. Third one, in India, inflation index bonds are linked to WPI. Quickly give the right answer. Look at the question carefully, apply the technique of keyword elimination comparison. Very quick. So you have an extreme word called as only and also not in the second statement. Quick, I didn't ask you any other index but rather inflation index bonds. Think. And here we go. Yes, I can see a lot of people saying 1, 2, 3 is correct, but then C, come on. A few with option number C as such, smart fellows. And the answer is option number what? It is A, which means that the answer is only one. The main objective of inflation index bond is what? Nothing but they want to safeguard the investor against any sort of macroeconomic risk in the economy. Okay. And now why is the second one wrong? Now they say that they will provide protection only to principal and not to interest payment. Nothing like that. They'll provide protection to both principal and also the interest payment. Let me tell you. Basically, inflation index bond is not the concept. Okay. It is a bond issued by who? The sovereign, which provide the investor a constant return irrespective of whatever is the level of inflation in the economy. So not only to the principal amount but also to the interest amount they'll give a protection. Whereas there is something called as capital index bond. That is a predecessor of the IIB. Take an inflation index bond. For that only to principal amount they give protection guys, not to interest. But in the case of inflation index bond, now it is issued after the capital index bond. So which means that both the principal and the interest amount now equally they are giving protection. Clear? So thus the inflation index bonds, they provide what? Inflation protection holistically. And basically they are linked with consumer price index guys. It has nothing to do with WPI. In the question they were asking you regarding WPI, now it is basically CPI. The next one, which of the following mechanisms can help to contain food inflation? 1. Increasing import duties on food articles. 2. More procurement means collection by Food Corporation of India. And 3. Imposing stock limit. Quickly give the right answer. Definitely the answer cannot be all the above because there is no option called as 1, 2, 3. Yeah, people are slowly putting the answers in the chat box. I could see that. And here we go. The answer is option number B. Only the third one is correct. Don't you think so? What does contain means? Contain means control inflation. When you increase the import duty, do you think it is going to control? Definitely no. Whereas when you impose a stock limit, can you contain food inflation? No. Rather, when you start having more collection from the Food Corporation of India, come on, it makes a sense. If the food articles are allowed to be imported, it may contain inflation because the demand for imports will be higher. You understand? See, when you're importing food articles, what is the meaning of that? Actually, they may contain inflation. But I can tell you that the demand for imports will be higher only if the price is lesser than the domestic produce. You understand? Thus what happened? They will curtail the, thus import duties will curtail the import and hence it will not help food inflation. Clear? Guys, hold on for a while. The keyword was, correct statement, not incorrect. Actually, I didn't give you the keyword. The keyword is given as right here, sorry. So now, something that is helping to contain or reduce food inflation is actually import duties. Actually, the one and the, third one is correct actually. Hold on, there's a small mistake. 1 second. Yeah. So now if you see the procurement by the FCI, they will reduce what? The supply to the market. Automatically it will increase inflation. Clear? Oh, it's correct only. The keyword is correct only, guys. So what I said is correct for you. So now in the case of food articles which are imported, automatically what happened? Import duties will again curtail the import. Hence it will not help food inflation. Second is when you actually have a procurement, automatically it will reduce what's applied to the market, increasing inflation. But then if the stocks with FCI are released strategically, then you will be able to contain food inflation, guys. So actually second one is correct. Third one talks about stock limit. So now when you have a stock limit now, it is making a way for the increased supply in the market, which is also critical for the level of food prices. The next one, which are the following measures where the government will lead reduction in inflation? Reducing government tax collection, reducing government spending, banning the export of essential item. Think and give the right answer. Which one do you think? 1, 2, 3 or only 1 and 2? And here we go. The answer is option number B, which means only the second and third one is correct. So now the question talks about measures of reducing by the government which will lead to reduction in inflation. Now when the government is reducing tax collection, do you think that will actually lead to reduction in inflation? Definitely no, right? So eliminate it. Automatically A, C, D is eliminated because everything is having 1. Applying the keyword elimination comparison technique which I have taught you in the Unacademy free classes, you got to know that the options are wrong except B, and that's how you get the answer as option number B. Clear? 2 and 3. That is, I'll tell you. When you increase the supply of goods and service, inflation can be controlled because supply is more now, price will automatically be reduced. And also when you reduce the money income, so you'll be able to control what the aggregate demand. That is the logic there. Rather, when you reduce the government tax collection, nowhere it is going to reduce inflation. You understand? Whereas government spending, if they reduce, and when they ban the export of essential, and also banning the export of essential item, such kind of things will lead to what? Will lead to reduction in the inflation. Clear? It should be import of essential item actually anyways. So now, here you have guys, now what are the fiscal measures to control inflation? So the government should reduce unnecessary expenditure on all the non-development activities. If you see to cut personal expenditure, the rate of personal corporate subco should be increased. Then I can see you some protectionist measures, like for example your pulses, cereals and oil. These are very, very important. India is the largest producer and consumer of pulses. Take care. Now when you ban the export of such kind of thing, what happens? It's a protectionist measure. Automatically you're kind of controlling inflation now. Yes, you are controlling inflation, no doubt on that. That's the whole logic. Take care. So here you have a mains questions for practice, answer writing. Explain the significance of inflation targeting while discussing the concern over the efficacy of inflation targeting. So exclusively from the current affairs perspective, inflation targeting only, I've given you this particular question. Feel free to write the answers and submit in my Telegram channel. Clear? So that's all for the day, my young officers. I hope it is crystal clear for you people. And now, a little of information to you people is that we have the great learning week in Unacademy from 10th of June to 16th of June. Don't miss the opportunity. Some subscription offer is going on. That is, if you subscribe today for 1 year till the next year, till today, that is June 11th, you will get a subscription offer. But then till the mains, you will be able to extend the offer even if you do not pay the fees. That is offer going on till June 16th. So you can use my code Nisha IAS Life to get that offer as such. Clear? Whichever year you subscribe, use the code Nisha IAS Life to be a part of the Plus platform and avail all these Maha subscription offer as such. Clear? Any doubts, queries, feel free to get in touch with me. Keep one thing in mind. Whether you want to watch my free class or the Plus class, and Plus class to get a little of discount from the money you pay, Nisha IAS Life. That is a code which will take you for the free as well as the Plus classes. Clear? So just keep that in mind. And don't forget guys, tomorrow you have the Unacademy Compact Scholarship Test at 10 a.m. Enroll for that for free and ensure that you are being a part of the wonderful Unacademy platform. So there are a lot of batch courses. Even you can see I'm also part of the NCRT batch course and all. So without fail, enroll for it. Clear? And if you do like this video, don't forget to like, share and also put your valuable feedbacks in the comment box. So thank you so much and see you all tomorrow 7 p.m. at the same time with part 2 of inflation. Till then, bye. Take care and Jai Hind.